finish matric, 60% drop out along the way. This is a big problem in our country.
Learners attending historically disadvantaged schools, historically African schools, are still performing very poorly. There have been some gains made, ensuring that there are norms and standards for basic infrastructure in all schools. Bursary schemes to make sure that there are enough qualified teachers in the rural areas is one of the good things that government has done. School feeding schemes is another good thing that government has done. Because education is a priority, government needs to be thinking a lot more about the problems in the poorer schools and how you improve the quality of education in the poorer schools.
For further education beyond matric at a university or FET college, this right means our government must make sure that more and more people are able to attend further education and training over time. The Constitution doesn't say anything about whether this education should be free or whether people should pay. But the state must help more people access further education. You might know about the 1976 Soweto uprising, where learners stood up to the government, resisting the government's school language policy, and were met with violence. Recognizing the importance of language in education, the Constitution gives everyone the right to be taught in the official language of their choice, wherever this is practically possible. These educational rights help to realize the potential of all who live in South Africa.
Hello everyone, welcome to the program. My name is Janet Unterschlag and I am here to help you with your English because we are sponsored by Liberty and we're very grateful to them for their support of you in your studies. You can find us on the Tenfold Education app. Please do find us and ask your questions. You can also find us on WhatsApp. And once again, find the platform, get your questions in. Find help, support, past papers. And on YouTube, at Mindset Learn. So we are out there, we are with you. Contact us, find our resource material and use it. And I'm very pleased to say that some people have been reaching out. And so I'm starting today with questions sent in by students. So the first one leaves me a little bit flummoxed because I don't know quite what it is that I am required to do. All right, so what are we talking about here? This is the drama, or one of the dramas. Remember, there's Macbeth, and for home language, there's Hamlet, for example. So it's one of the dramas. Now, every single text that is set by the department comes with help and notes and support. So I didn't bring my Children My Africa today. I brought it the last 2 weeks, and I'll bring it next week. But you will find help in that textbook. So you need to look through like the introductory sections, and you'll find a summary to help you. There will also be notes and questions and answers. So it's a bit difficult for me to know what you want me to summarize. I could summarize the play in like a sentence. Mr. M is a teacher at Solile High School, and he encourages his student Tami Mkwana and a girl from a local girls' high school to work together, but everything is interrupted and destroyed because of the protests and the riots. I don't know what it is that you need me to do. So that is just so vague. It's too broad. So when you send a question, I really need to know what the problem is. And what worries me as well is if you were asking me for a summary, does that mean you haven't read the play yet? And we are on top of prelims and finals. So I don't know what the problem is. Is there somebody who doesn't have the text? Is that the problem? Then try to contact a friend in a school who does have the text and ask for screenshots. You know, I don't know really what the problem is when you say summarize it. And also remember that the FAL exam can ask very specific questions on the content of the texts. I've seen some questions that I go, whoa, that's quite like an obscure detail, like a little detail over there that I might not even have really noticed. So please, the questions are fantastic and I'm so happy, but I'd like something a little bit more, you know, give me a bit more direction here. Okay, and I have the same problem with the next one. If we just have a look at this. Okay, so I'm talking to a student in Limpopo. They are writing their prelim paper, and I presume it's today week. And again, summarize the novel. So again, I'm just asking you, do you have the novel which is set by the department? Because if you do, there's a fantastic summary. If you look at, sorry, I've got bits of paper everywhere. If you look at page Roman numeral 13, there it is. Possibly if I put it here, can we see it with our overhead camera? Yeah, okay, there it is. Fantastic. So there is the summary of the novel. It gives you all the chapters. It gives you the setting, the plot, and it gives you some kind of comment, and it explains what's going on. And there it is, chapter 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Then we go into book 2, and there's book 2. And then you can see book 3, and there's book 3. And it's great. So it's in the text set by the department. And you'll find the same thing, the student who was asking about My Children, My Africa. the people who put together the texts for you are given specific directives. You must have an introduction, talk about the author, give a summary of the story. It's there. So I'd much rather you said that you'd read the summary and you were battling with, so if we just look at book 3, can we just look back at this? So here it says, Jarvis has provided better seed and a bulldozer, and work on the land continues. Kumalo reminds the agricultural demonstrator of how much Jarvis has done for them and warns him about being too proud. If you said to me, just explain a little bit more about the agricultural demonstrator. How does this person fit into the plot? How does it fit into the theme? Is this a major character? Do I need to know about this character? If so, why? If not, why not? You know what I mean? So the summary is there in your text. What if you haven't got the texts? Well, the next question is, do you have access to the internet? Can you get to a local library or civic center or something where there's access for you on a computer to the internet? Because there will be summaries on the internet as well. So yeah, so again, what can I say to you about Cry the Beloved Country? Well, the priest who lives in the little village of Ndacheni receives a message and goes as a result to Johannesburg, where he finds that his son has committed a murder. His sister is living a kind of life that he doesn't approve of, and his brother is very selfish, and he has to deal with the issues in Johannesburg, returns to Ndasheni, and tries to rebuild the village and improve the land with the help of a local farmer, James Jarvis. I mean, I don't know what it is. What are you having trouble with? Okay, I understand this. This is quite a fat book. I get that. My students also battle the direct speech in this book. You know, normally we would say something like, Jarvis said. Then we'd have a comma, and we'd have maybe double inverted commas, and you'd have what he said, or you'd have single inverted commas. Alan Paton doesn't do that. He uses a dash. And I found that my students battle because they don't know who's speaking. They can't work out who actually is speaking at this point in the novel. So maybe that's part of the problem, is reading a page. Then send me a message saying, you know, read the first paragraph of chapter whatever, or read this page in the set book and just show me how to read it, what's going on here. But the summaries are there, and certainly with Cry the Beloved Country, you will find a massive amount on the internet. So what you've got to get is access to the internet. And is that the problem? Is the problem that you don't have the textbook and you're writing your trial paper in a week's time and you haven't actually been given the textbook? Is that what we're saying? So again, give me some better idea of what the problems are, and we can try and think of a way around it. Okay, so those are my problems around the literature. I'm very happy to do Cry the Beloved Country. I mean, even if you said to me, just, you know, open the book and start reading. Here the great voice growls in the bull throat. This is his brother John. What do we learn about John? He's a politician, but he's all words. There's no courage there, and there's no concern for other people. He's really out for himself, his own ego, his own power, and he doesn't care about anybody, and he certainly isn't the kind of activist who's going to go to prison because he believes in it. If you remember Mandela saying he's prepared to die for what he believes in. John's not even prepared to go to prison. He's not prepared to get arrested. He's just going to fade away. So, you know, I am prepared to help you. You just need to tell me what it is you need me to do. But I cannot basically sit and summarize. I really can't. That's a kind of, I want to interact with people. I want to achieve more, if you know what I mean. All right, so let's move on to the next question, which says, study text G. Fair enough. Text G turns out to be a picture and then this. Just read that. Right. So what do we have to do with this? I think in the exam, have a highlighter and just highlight the instructions so that you know what you're meant to be doing. We have to rewrite the verb, because remember, what is a finite verb? Subject, number, person, tense. So tense is the tense of the verb. Look at the sentence and find the finite verb. And you found one. So this is my finite verb. What tense are we in? Past tense. We've got to go to simple future. How do I recognize simple future? It can have shall or will plus the verb. So Wade van Niekerk will, but we don't say will won. Will win. Should we use shall or will? We use will. Right, now the rest of the question has gone missing. I'm just going to guess what it is. I'm looking at the 2 marks. Are we being asked for parts of speech? Because that seems to me a logical thing with those underlined words. So this is my finite verb. And this is a world record. I think here the easiest thing to say is that world is describing record, so call it an adjective. A world record. Are we okay with that? Right, degrees of comparison. We've been doing this in the programs for the last 2 weeks. This is typical of a matric exam. So read the sentence. What are your degrees of comparison? You go good, better, best. So which one do you need here? This is when you're comparing 2 things, and this is more than 2. So what are we comparing? Wade van Niekerk's finishing time and Johnson's finishing time. Therefore, we need better. Right, we've got to give the correct form of the word in brackets. I wondered if this were a typo. I think it was sent in. Let me just check the, no, on the printout as well. I don't think it can be complete. I think it must be compete. So Wade van Niekerk defeated many athletes in this compete. We need the noun in this competition. Then we've got another, study the following sentence. But again, the rest of the question has been cut off. So I'm not sure what I must do with it. Let's just start by fixing it. Maybe that's what we had to do. Came. Maybe we had to fix the spelling mistake. All athletes came well prepared for the race. We could change the tense. Let's change it to present tense. Come. Let's change it to present perfect. All athletes have come. Singular of athlete is athletes is athlete. I'm really not sure what was here. So which student is this? Let's just go back to the top. Do we have a student here? No. This came from Ndubeni. Wendy Ndubeni. Please won't you, if I've missed what it is, won't you resend those particular questions with the bits that have been cut off, if I haven't sort of guessed correctly? And then we move to this, question 5, language and editing skills. This also comes from Wendy, so thank you very much. Read text F below. It has some deliberate errors, deliberate mistakes, and answer the set questions. Just read through this quickly. Okay, so we've read through it very quickly. What have we got? Correct the single error. Now, this is exactly what we have been practicing over the last 2 weeks. And when I finish the questions, I will then go to what I've prepared for today, and I've prepared the same thing. And I've also taken the 2018 papers, because this is how the first question in the language section, this is what it looks like. So it really is important for FAL students to see this. Home language, please look at the errors. You get asked it slightly differently, but there's nothing wrong with looking at the way that FAL is asked. So correct the single error. So what does it mean? There's only one mistake in each of the following sentences. Write down only the question numbers and the words you have corrected. I really want to emphasize this. So Wendy, thank you for sending this, because this is exactly what I had planned to do today. So you and I are working together here. FAL students, please take note. This is marked very strictly in the matric exam. If you don't follow this instruction here to the letter, you will lose marks. So look for one mistake in the first sentence. Let me get, again, a different color. Let's see what we've got. Students battle because sometimes they can't see what is being tested. In English, you wipe something off the face of the planet or off the face of the earth. So I'm just going to put this here because this is not how you write your answer. That is of, and this is off. Of, off. In English, you wipe something off. So if I had something on the screen, I could wipe it off. So if you look here, wipe off the face of the earth. Now look, write down only the question number. So what do you do in the exam? You go A and the words you have corrected. You go A off. That's all you do. Please do not write of, must go to off. Don't do that. It says write down only the question numbers, there it is, and the words you've corrected. That's the word I corrected, off. Please don't lose marks because they are so strict in the marking. Right, look at B. You're looking for one mistake. Okay, now my problem is I can see two mistakes. It's only for 1 mark, so I'm sure that somewhere or other there's been a typo. I am convinced that this is the error they are looking for. The cost of your coffee is bound to go up. Why? Because the subject word is cost. This is singular, so the verb must be singular. That's an S, but I think that S got dropped off in sending the question to us. I think that's the error. So you'd go B is. That's all you do. Please, guys. Right, look at this one. You're looking for one mistake. So what have we had tested so far? Just look at this. We've had off the face of the earth, which is a preposition, I suppose. We've had singular subject, singular verb, which is concord. Here, we've got the wrong word. It's not livelihoods. Do we know what word it is? Not livelihoods, but livelihoods. Now, how would you know that? I don't know. Exposure to English, reading aloud, reading a lot, listening to the news. Okay, so it is quite tricky. I can see two mistakes here. It's a problem. I'm hoping that the full stop was just a typo there. So I'm hoping that that's the one that they wanted. So with D, you just write it's. Right, so here the word wasn't underlined, but that's easy. How do we know? Because just look at the sentence. There is only one word in the plural. Look, if we're asked to give the singular form of the underlined word must be in the plural. So which word is in the plural here? Which noun is in the plural? It's got to be this one. So what is the singular of fungi or fungi? It is fungus. Right. Again, how are you meant to know that? From biology? And what if you don't do biology? If you don't do life science? Well, from your reading, from your general knowledge. This is the problem with the language. You can certainly practice things like active and passive voice, but they can throw anything at you. And it's a good idea to go through past papers to practice. Right, then we've got the passive voice. Okay, so imagine that we have prepared and practiced. Let's choose a pale blue. Right. What do we do with active and passive voice? You start with a finite verb. Then you find the subject. And remember, will alter is our tense. What is a finite verb? What is a finite verb? I won't leave you in suspense. Subject, number, person, tense. So you find the tense. Will alter, future tense. Lovely. Right. To find the subject of a finite verb, ask who or what before the verb. Who or what will alter? The climate change. There is my subject. To find the object of a finite verb, ask who or what after the verb. The climate change will alter who or what? The taste and aroma object. To make a sentence, to change it from the active to the passive voice, you start by taking the object and make it the new subject. You take the verb and you make the verb passive. Then you add in the word by, and you take the subject and you put it after by and make it the new agent. Right. Will alter. Passive, will, we've got to keep the tense. Will be altered. Can I just get myself a bit more space here? So, the taste and aroma will be altered by the climate change. Right. So thank you for all of that. That's fabulous. Oh, and is that everything from everybody? How sad. Have I come to the end? I have two. Okay, so those are all the questions I've got because this is what I prepared. So thank you everybody for the questions. Please continue to send questions. Literature, language, writing, as you approach prelims and then between prelims and finals, please use our apps, our platforms, and send in your questions. So perhaps we should take an ad break just to separate the questions from the lesson that I've prepared. So I'll see you after the ad break.
No one ever asks why we do the weird things we do. Like, why once is never enough? Or doing 2 trips is just one too many. Why do we, before we use these, or say 5 when we mean 20? Why do we have second thoughts? And think that lift buttons make them go faster? Why don't we walk there? Cross our fingers, touch wood, and struggle to hide our true feelings? At Liberty, we want to know all the weird and wonderful things that make us human, because human beings, being human, are what we make financial solutions for. Liberty, in it with you.
Did you know that the invention of Velcro was inspired by nature? Swiss engineer Georges de Mestral went on a hunting trip in the Alps in 1941 and found his dog covered in burdock seeds. When he studied them under the microscope, he observed the design of hooks that had attached the seeds to the dog's fur. Years later, after much experimentation, he invented Velcro, and it was patented in October 1952.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. We've been looking at your questions, and we are so lucky to be able to do this because we are sponsored by Liberty, and they give us the chance to get your questions and to try to answer them. You can also find us on the Tenfold education app, so please find us for help, support, guides, past papers, whatever, and then also on WhatsApp. And again, you can send us your questions so we can try to answer them for you and give you some help. And you can find us on YouTube at Mindset Learn. So please find us, communicate. It's been, for me, much more exciting to look at your questions than just to go through what I've prepared. That doesn't mean to say I don't think I've prepared the right kind of stuff, but it's nice to know that I'm helping you directly. Okay, so I started with this. Just to practice things that you get quite often in the exam. Give the full form of, so read the sentence. So this must be, the film is excellent, and you'd be mad. You, yes, correct. So let's start with wheel. Technically, it should be we shall. I would certainly accept we will, but I suppose let's go with we shall. Whatever's happened can't be whatever is, it has to be whatever has happened. Then we have to correct the error. There it is. We need an apostrophe there. Let's just brighten up everything and go to a nice red. Let's look for the mistakes. Couldn't. The apostrophe must be there because the letter that has died is the O that would have been in there. Right. Now we've got to give the full form of the contractions. So it is right. Same instructions. Let's do it again. There's our first one. And the apostrophe must be there because the O would have been in there. So we put the apostrophe there because the letter has died there. So it's the actions of the 5 friends. And then we need the apostrophe there. And this is a plural, so there should be no apostrophe. Now we've got to give the full form of the words that are contracted. So we have did not, although they'd cheated, they had cheated. Same instruction, let's correct. That must be there, and the apostrophe must be there. This is just a plural, so nothing there. We need the apostrophe there because the letters that have died are there. And we need an apostrophe there because it's the entrance at the cafe. So it's the entrance of the cafe. So we need the apostrophe there before the S. Right, give the full form of the contractions. They'd met each other. They had met each other. Same instruction, let's do it all again. So our apostrophe must be there, not there, because that's where the O has died. It'll got to be there because the letters that have gone are there. And then your eyes is just a plural. It does not need an apostrophe. Let me make sure it looks as if that's really crossed out. Then the full form of the contractions, shouldn't, is should not, and it'll, it will affect your eyes. Right, what are we doing here? We are inserting apostrophes and giving the full form of the contractions. So let's insert the apostrophes. The apostrophe has to be there because the letters that are missing are there. Everyone there because the letter that is missing is there. We have decided to have a party and everyone is invited. Same instruction, we're practicing apostrophes today and we are working on the contractions. So the apostrophe must be there because that's where the O has gone, has vanished, is there. We need the apostrophe there because once again, the letters that have died are there. We need the apostrophe there because once again, the letters that have died would have been in there, right? Aren't you coming? Aren't becomes are not. So are you not coming? I'd put the you in the middle. Are you not coming? I have, and you should have, you should have. Notice, very commonly made mistake is people write, I should have done it, because they hear should have instead of should have. So you should hear this as the v, should have. And instead people say should of. And so people write should of, but it's actually should have. And so it's should have. Once again, we're inserting apostrophes and giving the full form. So the apostrophe must be there because the letters that have gone are in there. Can't, because there should be an O in there. So that apostrophe here shows that the O is not there. Because I'd have to stay. The letters that have died are there. So I wouldn't. Once again, be very careful how often students put it in the wrong place. I cannot tell you how often, but the O should have been in there. So if I just change to a red, the O would have been in there, right? So let's write it in full. I have told the teacher that I cannot do my homework because I would have to stay up late and I would not be able to work the next day. hang on, because I'd have to stay up late. I'd have to stay up so late. No, there's not a full stop. Sorry. Just look at this sentence. I've told the teacher that I can't do my homework tonight because there is my conjunction. I'd have to stay up so late. The that has been left out, which is perfectly okay. So late that. So that introduces my next adverbial clause. So just be careful here. Very often in English, we leave out a conjunction. If I say, the woman I choose to marry must be intelligent. Let us say that this is what you're saying. Right. How many finite verbs do I have? I have 2. Choose and must be. 2 finite verbs. How many clauses? 2. 2 clauses. How many conjunctions? 1. Where is it? It's not there. The woman whom I choose to marry. In English, we very often leave out that conjunction. Now that's called ellipsis. And it is perfectly okay ellipsis, because you don't need it. Nobody misunderstands the man I'm going to marry, the man whom I'm going to marry. You don't need that. So we are allowed to leave it out. So if we go back to this sentence, I've told the teacher that I can't do my homework tonight because I'd have to stay up so late I wouldn't be able to work the next day. I've left out that conjunction, and that's ellipsis. And that ellipsis is grammatically okay. All right. So that's our last clause. Right. Where was I? Right. Okay. So what I wanted to look at are those particular language items. Please make a note that those come up pretty often in the exams. So when you're revising, sit down, say to yourself, do I know what a homonym is? Do I know what an acronym is? Can I give synonyms? How good is my spelling? Do I know what my tenses are? And have I gone through past papers to look at common errors? So really very important. So let's just have a look at some examples. So we're going to use some bits of this article called Climate Repair, 3 Things You Must Do Now to Stabilize the Planet. And it was published on the 12th of August. And you know me, even while I'm doing language, I'm also pushing current events and general knowledge, and the latest reports on the planet are scary, and you need to pay attention because it's your future and it's your planet. And it comes from these authors. So I've given you a picture and told you who the 2 people are. And then I've got this sentence from that. So we're looking at the work of David King and Jane Lichtenstein, and they're both at the University of Cambridge. Right, there's the sentence. Please read the sentence. All right, I wondered about the word mitigate. If you mitigate the dangers, you make them slightly less bad. You do something to lessen those problems. Okay, right. But what does panel mean in this context? So we're doing language in context. What is the meaning of panel? They're an intergovernmental panel. They are a group of people, and usually a panel, they're the people who come together for a specific purpose. I'm sure you've seen something on TV where they say we're going to discuss the recent violence in the country. We have a panel. May I introduce the members of the panel? So it's a group of people who come together for a particular purpose. Here it would be to give their views, their expertise around the recent violence. It could be like this, an intergovernmental panel on climate change. So talking to different governments about climate change. So it's a group of people coming together for a particular purpose. But then you are often asked to use a word in a sentence of your own. So I was thinking about doing repairs, and let's say in the kitchen you had, like a board, and maybe you took the board off the wall to see if there's water damage or something behind it. This is a panel. And then this would be a panel. So the kitchen panel needs to be repainted. It's that piece of board, all right? Or you also get a panel, like if you're wearing a dress, or let's say this jersey. Let's say I had a black stripe down the front of the jersey. You could call that a panel. That would also be a panel. Right, then we come to this. Is it an acronym? The answer is no. It's an abbreviation. Right, now, can I beg you, when you get something like this, and there should be inverted commas around still, please go back to the text. All right, so what did I do when I put this sentence together, or this question? I looked up still in a dictionary. Are these all meanings of the word still? Absolutely. Every one is a correct meaning of still. So how do you know which one is right in this question? You've got to go back to the sentence. Read it again. I want to find my nice bright red. Read the sentence again. There is still an opportunity to do something about climate change. There is still an opportunity. So which one of those correct meanings of still is correct in this context? There is still a chance. There is still an opportunity. There it is. Now you're told to use it as a different part of speech. So you need to say to yourself, well, this is an adverb. I need still as a different part of speech. And I think the easiest one is to use it as an adjective as opposed to an adverb. So if you say things like, children, don't make so much noise, keep still. All right? Then it's still an adverb. Keep still. Keep how. Adverb. But they want it as a different part of speech. So when you're doing an adjective, the easiest way is to put a noun after it. So still water. So I ordered still water to drink with my meal, or the still water reflected the moon, was so calm and quiet. So there's a little difficulty here because of the different part of speech. It's not just with a different meaning, it's a different part of speech. So if you say to the children, keep still, it is a different meaning, but it's the same part of speech. Just be careful. Then we're told there's a deliberate spelling mistake. Oh, okay. Go back to the sentence. Can you find the spelling mistake? Now, the way that I tend to do this is I actually put my pen under every single word to make my eye look at every single word. Not to go too quickly. Oh, there it is. recent. All right? Deliberate spelling mistake, write only the word correctly spelt. So you just write recent. It's a good idea to do this, put your pen on each one. I don't know if I told you last week, but in one of my classes, the student was asked to correct the error. And it was something like, he safes, or whatever, they safes. And every time the student read it, he read saves. He couldn't find the mistake because he was reading saves. So eventually, I was getting him to read it word by word. And when he got to saves, nope. And then he'd start again. And he'd read each word and get to saves, nope. So his eye corrected it every single time. I corrected it, brain corrected it, and what came out of the mouth was correct. But it actually wasn't what he was reading, and so he couldn't see it. So force yourself to slow down and look at every single word when there's a spelling mistake. All right. It can be tricky sometimes, your eye's just fixing it. Right. Tense of warned and are. So let's go back. They warned, past tense, simple past tense. And then we need are, the consequences are here, simple present tense. Right, let's go back and look. Where's its consequences? We have its consequences. Is its correct? Yes, it is. Why? Well, it's got to be it. Let's go back to the sentence. Its consequences. We're talking about climate change. So climate change is singular, and we wouldn't give it a gender, so we'd use it. And it's got to be its because it is possessive, and that is the correct way of writing the possessive. If we just draw a quick little text box over here so it doesn't mess up what we're doing, just remember that it's like that means it is because a letter has died over there. This is telling me that the letter's died because this is a pronoun, and when we write pronouns, we do not put an apostrophe on the possessive form of a pronoun. So this is where the letter died, so the apostrophe goes there, and it's got nothing to do with this. We're moving on to a different article. Search for elusive skinks. A skink is like a lizard. Is filling gaps in Mozambique's biodiversity data. And we've got two people. There's Harith Umar Morgadino Farouk, and we've got Alison Perigo, and they are both at the University of Gothenburg. Right, let's have a look at their article. So once again, it comes from the Conversation Africa. This is meant to be an L. That's a joke. Read the following extract in which there are deliberate mistakes. And there's a mistake right there. Deliberate mistakes. So please won't you read that? Can I get it all on? Just there we go. Won't you please read that? Right, don't worry about this because this is the proper scientific name of the skinks that they are looking for. So don't worry about that. It should have been in italics, but you know what it's like when you transform something from one format to another. Often you lose the formatting. So don't worry about that. Read the second paragraph. All right, what do we have to do? Our first question tells us, correct 10 mistakes in the text. Okay, so let's start with the first. Where are our 10 mistakes? Every morning, the phone. How do we spell phone? Like that. Buzzes as the students send. Clearly, this doesn't mean of student. It means plural. Take out the apostrophe. Get rid of it. Send photo after photo of the snakes, frogs, lizards, can't see a problem, that have been what? That have been caught. But that's how you spell caught. In various traps the previous day, we scroll through. This through is I throw the ball and then I threw the ball. So we've got the wrong spelling of through. So we need it like that. The image. Again, fine. Let's look at our second paragraph. Mozambique in the right. Now, this one could be quite controversial. We used to put that apostrophe right there, but we don't anymore. The apostrophe is going out. We're using it less and less and less. And lots of people have suggested that we take the apostrophe away, even in possession. That hasn't come yet, so you still need to know your apostrophe. But take the apostrophe out there in the 1920s. Readily available instruments and administer bases during the American campaign. There's our next problem. How do you spell campaign? It has got a G. There. Put the G in over there. World War I as base camps for sampling. Then the war ended. The naturalists stopped collecting. No. They stopped. I can't even say it without the two L's. Collecting at these sites. After that, the two skink species assumed to be endemic to Mozambique were not recorded again. Why? So what does why need? Absolutely. Let's just check we've got 10. Did we find all 10 or have we missed one of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lovely. Correct 10 mistakes. We have done so. What does sites mean here? Always go back to the text. Where is sites? Now I've lost it. Scan for sites for me. Base camps. There. Okay, let me get another color. We've got sites over there. War ended and the naturalists stopped collecting at these sites. What does sites mean here? Right. Sounds the same, but it's spelt differently. Right. Now, I would be careful here. Right, this is my question, and I wondered whether I should have put here, you may use this word in the singular, but I decided not to put it in. If you're asked to use that word, then please, I think you should try to use it in that form. So sites are, like, for example, we'd say the tourists visit the sites. So we had a student send in a question from Limpopo. Tourists visit the sites in Limpopo. Or in English as well, you can say something like, set your sights on something. So I could say something like, Toko has set her sights on writing an excellent essay. So if you set your sights, it means that this is your goal. So I could have said use it in the singular. I would try, if you possible, to use it in the plural. Then we have to provide a synonym for various and previous. So different, previous, before. And I think, oh, and type. And I think that takes us to the end of this. No, we've got discovered. And a synonym for, oh, period. Okay. So I had a student ask me today about how to improve vocabulary. You have to look up words, I'm afraid. It's as difficult as that. What are we doing? We're doing past papers. We're answering your questions. We're trying to get you ready for your prelims and your finals, and you're going to send in questions. Please go through all of those things that I suggested, the homophone and so on, so that you know what comes up often in exams. And please, would you join me again so we can answer more of the questions you're about to send in. Have a lovely week. From me. Bye-bye.